Welcome back to Counsil Customs. Today, what we're going to get into is, if y'all remember, whenever we did the hot rod cruise, we had a little bit of a cooling issue. Not terribly. We did pretty good overall, but every now and then we were getting up to around the 210 mark while sitting in traffic, and I wasn't a huge fan of that, especially on an old big block. You really don't want it to get super hot because then it takes a little bit longer to cool down. You're going to start busting some stuff internally. So, try something different. I've never done this. We're going to do a scientific test. I ain't no scientist, but we're going to give it a shot. So, here's what I came up with. I took the factory original radiator out of the car, and here's the way it was set up. You had dual pusher fans. You can see right there and right there, with no shroud, obviously, because they're pushers, because you can't really put a shroud on a pusher. Here's our radiator. That's our radiator that was in the car. It's a 3-row 64 Ford Galaxy radiator. This is a 60 Ford Galaxy, or Fairlane, basically the same thing. A lot of the parts interchange between these cars, but the radiator, this one is specifically a 64. So now, what I came up with was yesterday, while I was at Condo Swap Meet, I ended up buying a bunch of stuff to try. Things are pretty cheap. You can buy it, give it a shot. So here's what I came up with. I bought that fan and that fan for $15 for both of those. $5, $5, $5 for the shroud. So there's $35. See what happens. Besides that, whenever I got home, I started digging into everything else that I have. That radiator came out of a Tri-5 Chevrolet. These are 3 16-inch fans. Over here, I've got 3 12-inch fans, 2 12-inch fans on that radiator. I already measured everything out. I don't think that one's going to work for us. I was wondering if there's a way I could make it work. I just don't. I mean, your inlets and outlets are on the opposite side. I could maybe make it work, but I'm going to have to take it and cut it up and make it work. It's not just going to work as it sits. I'm going to have to cut into the radiator to make it work for us, which I don't mind doing. I just don't feel like it's necessary right this moment for it to do it whenever we have this one. Let's try something, see how it does, and if we need to, we have that radiator. If that still doesn't work, we'll buy another radiator. Those are 2 12-inch fans with straight blades. Those are curved blades, which they say curved blades are just quieter. That's the only difference. I held up into the car, which I can show you right now. This fan and this fan, the two that really look like they would move the most out of all of this mechanical fan stuff, they're going to hit our belt. Once you hold this down into place, that blade, how close it is to the front of that, and I still haven't even bolted it all the way on. So you still have that distance right there that it has to go down. So it might fit, it might not. But on top of that, I didn't take this into consideration, but apparently big block Fords have a different hole size right here in the center. Well, not one of these fans will fit. So I would have to work on making sure I find center perfectly and wallering that hole out. I'll show you what I came up with instead of doing all that. Because I also have that fan, which I think that would be our best choice. I put that one and that one extremely dangerously on a drill and held it to see how much airflow, and the aluminum one had way more airflow. It's also a lot lighter and it feels more stable than the big giant finger chopper right there. That one made more noise, but that one moved more air. So we could test it, but boy, do I not want anybody else to do what I did, because I'm not gonna lie, it scared the crap out of me. I don't really get scared from doing sketchy stuff. It doesn't really bother me. But that one was, I could chop off a finger or lose a hand right now. Here's what I came up with for my scientific experiment. So this shroud, back in the day whenever I had my 66 F100, I ordered this shroud off of Amazon or something like that to try it, and I put it on the radiator and it was too small for that radiator. So it just kind of floated in the center, and eventually the little tab things broke that held it on, and it fell down, hit the engine. I ended up buying the brand new radiator and everything to run in there, so that way it was better. There's nothing wrong with this setup. It just wasn't right for the application at the time. But if we hold this right here, that is exactly the radiator size that it needs. So here's what I'm thinking. Because we have a non-shrouded dual fan setup right there. That's a pusher. I used my hand and felt back there behind. And I feel like whenever you connect these to power, the 16-inch single fans, and you connect the 12-inch fans that are pushers, I feel like we're moving more air with the 16-inch fan. But don't take my word for it. Let's test it. See that? I ain't ever tried this thing. Okay, so it held it. All right. Jesus, 17 miles per hour. Let's turn the key on in the car. So the way this current setup is, it's key on the entire time. So now, wherever I set that little fan motor down at, and it has an arrow pointing, so we need to hold it in here, maximum. So that side went 16.5. This side over here, 16.5. This side over here, 14. All right, so we're gonna go down a little bit from the scientific approach, because I just tried to look up how to officially calculate CFM. And what I learned is I'm not smart enough for that. So what we're gonna do is I'm just gonna hold this in here again. 14.6. So 14.16. Over here we're getting 15.15. And that is our feet per minute. It's not cubic feet per minute, which is what CFM stands for. It's feet per minute. To get the cubic feet per minute, you got to get pi involved, and I already ate breakfast, so there's all kinds of stuff. The 3.14 blah 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 blah. By the diameter minus the circumference minus the thing, and add the other thing. Bro, it's not that technical. Let's see what the... Because I'm not trying to sell these things. I'm just trying to figure out which one flows more air. So obviously, whatever number scores higher on this meter is the number I'm going to use. So now let's get our 16-inch fans out. Let's plug in. I'm going to hook up a battery jumper wires. And we're just going to set up right here in the middle of the floor for us to be able to test everything. So just because I'm curious to start with, let's run through all of the 12-inch fans. We know we're not going to run them, but I'm curious to see what they perform at. And this is the one backwards fan. Oh, this is airflow. So this is a pusher as well. $18.69. So $18.69. That's 300 feet or whatever higher. But that's already better out of another pusher fan, as well as the motors on this one is smaller. So this is already a better fan all the way around than the fan that was on there. And like I said, we were pretty close to keeping it cool, just not quite there. So actually, I'm going to set that fan to the side. That's a good fan. I'm happy with that. That's a good fan. Now, let's move on to our next puller fan. So Gotta be careful with these fans. So watch yourself when you're using the fan. There's some tape on it and some stuff. Anyway, 1456. That's close to what our high side on the car is running right now. That's a pusher. This is a puller. There's a little bit less surface area in the center. This with a shroud, I think would do better than what's on there right now. Now, I wanted to try this on the last one. That's where I messed up. Click unit, and that's going to give us our different readings. So like right now, that's 14.3 knots. I'm not a sailor, so that means nothing to me. I'm an American, and I live in America. So 16.5 miles per hour. That's what the fan wind speed is equal to. If you're over there in the UK or anywhere else, I guess, in the world, 26.6 kilometers. I mean, I don't know how to convert kilometers and all that stuff, but miles per hour, I'm good with. So we're gonna worry about just cubic feet, but we will click back and forth to look at what miles per hour is. I would have liked to have seen what miles per hour was on that last fan, but I'm sure we'll get to see something else that moves a lot more air moving forward. Another one of basically the same fans. 1594. So basically that pair of fans right there is exactly the fan setup we had in that car as a pusher. We had one that was a little bit higher than the other. They were both like within 100 feet per minute or whatever of each other. So I'm gonna say that's a super close comparison of these are pullers, those are pushers. We could put a shroud on this one and probably get a better result than what was on the car originally. But none of that matters because now let's take a look at one 16-inch fan. So this one was brand new out of the box, never used it before. That one I believe has been used before, and this one I do believe has been used before. But I'm gonna run each one of these. I'm gonna see which one has the highest flowing CFM or whatever the highest flowing rate that we find is. $16.72 was our highest reading. This is a brand new 16-inch fan, straight out of the box. Never been run, other than for me for testing. Never been run on a car. That's what we got on that one. Once again, this is not a super expensive fan. This is just like a cheapo auto parts store, or not even auto parts store, just like Amazon or whatever kind of fan. So now let's put this one. I believe whenever I was doing my testing, this one felt, not saying it is, but it felt as if this one had the highest output. If you look at the fan blades between the two, this one has more aggressive fan blades than this one. I don't know if maybe that has anything to do with it, but we're gonna test this one now. The last one I'll test is the one that's already on the shroud, because if it already gives a better reading, then obviously we're gonna leave it on the shroud. But let's put this one on there, see what happens. Apparently I don't have a good ear for this thing, because that last one had over 100 more whatever of flow. All right, let's test this last 16-inch fan and see what we get. 1633. So now let's actually double check the other one that I thought was the highest flowing and see what we get with that one, because I think it was higher than 1633. 1653. Now I'm gonna run back through the video and just make sure that whichever one I choose is the correct one to choose. And once we get that done, we'll get it mounted to the radiator I'm probably gonna take that radiator, set it up here on this, and just go through and straighten up all the teeth real quick before I reinstall it. But let's get that done. So that one was 1673 was what the highest we got out of it. 1633, the highest we got out of it. Second time we ran this one, 1653. I'm just gonna use that fan. It's already on the shroud. Don't have to change nothing. It's ready to go. We can put that shroud on that radiator over there and mount it up. So now I've got a lot of stuff we can shelf and a whole lot of stuff over there that we can shelf as well. But all this stuff can like get used at some point. So from the other day, whenever we ran the test, I didn't do it all on film, and it's a nasty evening this evening, but I got to work on this car right now. I put the 16-inch fan in the car. As you can see, it's on the floor, so obviously that didn't work. But let me show you what all we did into it whenever we came up with that solution of the time. We cut the core support, and yes, the core support is still braced all up here, and it's got C shape right here. So we only lost a little bit, which isn't much. And this core support still doesn't flex. You still have the brace here and all that stuff. So I took all that in consideration. I moved it forward as much as I could. Now, as you can see, we've got a mechanical fan in here. Now, that 16-inch electric fan, I was actually starting, it got hotter. It's been a fairly cool couple of days, and we're actually getting hotter now than we were before. So what I'm gonna do is I had to get a spacer, and I bought a Chevrolet spacer because all of my fans, the bore here is Chevrolet size, and the bore on the big block is a different size. So what I did was I had one of the guys at work that's a machinist, he bored it out for me so that way I can not cut any of my fans, but the adapter's already made to the right size. So I'm gonna set this fan up. I just ran one test real fast to see what the airflow was on this flex fan, and wow, there's no shroud, no nothing. Obviously I'm not test driving the car or doing any of that. I'm going to set up a shroud and everything on it and try to get the most effective we can right out the gate. But what I want to do is I want to get the absolute best fan on the car that I can. And we have, this is a 6-blade mechanical flex fan, and that's an aftermarket brand. We have that 6-blade mechanical flex fan. We basically know that 4-blade Impala fan is not going to work. We can pretty much just not even look at that. But this 5-blade mechanical flex fan is a monster. So I really kind of want to see what this one will do between all of them. But now that we have our little airflow meter, let's run the airflow on this one real fast, get the reading on it, and then we'll swap in that one, we'll swap in that one, and whichever one gives us the best number, that's the one we're going to put in, and then we're going to build the shroud around that, which the shroud should be able to work for any of them, because you just have to have 3/4 of an inch worth of engagement from the center, but I guess like from the bolting area forward. I don't know. I'll do some more research on that, but I believe it's from the center of the blades forward 3/4 of an inch, which, yes, all of our fans are different sizes, but I think we're going to make it work. And what I'm going to do is take this Impala shroud, and I'm going to take that mechanical or the electric fan out of there, and I'm going to make that bolt to that. If I need to open that hole up at all, then I'll open it up. We can get the most airflow through it. And we're going to get that mounted on there. And that'll be our fan shroud. So let's test this fan real fast. I should just have to fire the car up, turn that on, and we're going to leave it on the feet per minute deal, and then we want to know the maximum. So let's fire it up again. Set that right there. That is insane. So already, I think with the mechanical or with the electric fan mounted to the shroud, our highest reading whenever it was mounted to the radiator installed and everything, 1,300 feet per minute. Now, obviously that's not true CFM. That's just what this reading is. But that's 400 feet per minute more than the electric fan. So right out the gate, we're already improving substantially. So now, let me get this one off. Let's get another one on there. Let's get it tested and keep moving forward. I'm going to write these down real fast. I'm going to put that one as the black flex fan, blue flex fan, silver flex fan, black flex fan, and blue flex fan. And we're going to write that down. We're going to get these numbers, and we're going to see which one runs the best. All right, so here we go with the blue one. Let's clear this out. Set that back on max. $12.98. So far, our blue mechanical fan is the least flowing out of them. So I'm going to write this number down real quick on the blue. $12.98. And then if I come over here to units, I was also looking at what that miles per hour is. So that's 14.7. The first one got 19.4. So let's change to our last one real fast and see what we get. Wow, I did not expect that number. I mean, that's a 5-blade instead of a 6-blade, but it has more of an aggressive pitch to the blades. There's our number. 2,007 feet per minute. And that equates to 22.8 miles per hour. And that was repeatable. That was repeatable because I accidentally hit that button. I went back in the car, did it again, press unit this time. Let's go back through 2007. So now, let's whip up a quick fan shroud and get on the road because the weather's getting nasty. All right, well, since we've been doing all these different experiments and everything, and the last fan we tried, the flow was 2007. Here's what I came up with for the fan shroud the other day. And I've been driving this like this for about a week. And it's been great. I've had zero issues out of it other than one little thing. We were sitting in the Chick-fil-A drive-thru. It was taking a little bit longer than normal, and the temperature started to climb once. It was still a pretty chilly day. Temperature got up to around, whenever I say started to climb, it was not overheating whatsoever. We started to climb up to, which we've been maintaining directly at 180 with a 180 thermostat. We got up to about 190, and obviously it was still continuing. But we have a 180 thermostat on a cold day, and we were starting to climb. So here's what I'm going to try. I just want to see what the difference is. I have another fan sitting here. Got this one off of Marketplace. A clutched fan. Another 5-blade, but the blades are more aggressive. Now, that's a 5-blade, but it's a flex fan style. So we have a fixed blade, very aggressive, with a clutch, and a flex blade fixed to the stem down here. So we're going to try out swapping that over. I'm just going to try it out. See what happens. Once I fire it up after that, I'm just going to let the car sit here and idle in the shop and just watch the temperature gauge. I want to see where it hits. If it'll sit here and idle continuously and just hold that number, then it'll just hold that number. If it'll idle and it starts to get hot and it gets hotter faster than what we did, we'll jump right back to the other fan style, because I actually have another trick up my sleeve. Not even trick up my sleeve, another idea I would like to try. There's another fan, but it's not local, so I'd have to go pick it up. So it's not going to happen today, but there's another fan. And I'm fine with gathering all these up because, as you see, the chicken ranch is back in here because it's going to get some love. So this truck has a 16-inch puller electric fan on it right there. So if we wanted to, we could convert this truck to well, not really. This radiator sits so high, it wouldn't really be beneficial to run an electric or a mechanical fan. I mean, we could always try it, but I think we're going to end up fighting ourselves more than anything on this one. But this truck doesn't get warm. I've let it sit here and idle and idle and idle, but I also haven't put it on the road. Everybody knows that's a big different story between putting it on the road and not. Now, this car, which y'all all know, if you've been following my channel, my wagon, it's coming back very soon. And a lot of y'all probably don't know this, but I've taken the wagon out a couple of times. The transmission's still not great, but I went to like a little car show that's like 1 mile down the road. So we fired it up and I just creaked it down the road to that car show. Because the transmission's already shot, so what's it matter? But what y'all don't know is I actually put an extremely expensive cooling fan on this car a long time ago. Long before I had YouTube, I was trying different ideas on how to keep this car cool with the 390 big block. And I actually put in a Delta PAG brushless cooling fan. And it moves some air. But ever since I put AC on this car, it won't stay cool. Now that I've got AC on it and it's not cooling the car, I'm wondering if I go with a mechanical fan, if I can combat this issue and solve it. So that's why I'm gathering up all these different fans, because we have that car that needs to get done. We've got this truck sitting here that it's going to get some work. We got that chicken ranch truck in there that it's going to get work done to it. I've got this one I'm daily driving. I've got a plan up my sleeve for the wagon. We've got another big project that's tucked away at the house that nobody's seen, that I'm going to be fighting with that one, and I'm sure trying to come up with solutions for keeping it cool as well. So all this stuff I'm doing nothing but benefiting myself by gathering up all these fans and to test them all. And if I come up with one that's just the absolute best, then that's the one we'll just be on the lookout forever for and just buy them all up. So now you see what we're working with. Let's go in here and pull the direct drive fan off and put the clutched fan on. There we go. Got the fan installed. Now obviously you can see, because I can move it with my hand, everything is cold. So now let's fire it up, let it idle, and get it up to running temperature and see how it does, just maintaining running temperature. So just fire it up and let it idle. Let's check it while we know it's disengaged right this moment. See what the airflow is. So right now 1400, 1397, 1400. Let's wait and let it get up to running temperature, let the fan engage and see what happens. So I'm driving right now on my way home from work. Nice little back road highway action. Sitting at 180, and I don't know. I'm I'm not sure if the clutch fan is better or if I really like that last fan that was on it. Actually, tomorrow I am headed to pick up another fan. The person said they weren't available till tomorrow, so tomorrow I'm heading to go pick up a 7-blade fixed fan. I just want to test it and see how it goes. I might end up just chucking back on the. I also don't know if this clutch is engaging. I'm gonna check that whenever I get to the house because it should be good and warm. Or I can stick something in the fan, see if it stops it or if it continues spinning. If it stops it, apparently that's, and while it's warm, it's saying the fact that it wasn't engaged. I was never sure to properly check it yesterday. But also, I'm going to put in a 195 thermostat up the temperature on the car a little bit better for it. But I mean, it's doing the job. It's keeping it cool. I just don't know if it's the most efficient setup we've done on it or not. Time will tell. We also got to do this all again on another vehicle. So we'll probably get a little bit more content out of it whenever we do that, because I'm sure I will have bought a lot more stuff by then to test out. But whenever we get to the house, we'll check the fan real quick and we'll call it on this video. So stay tuned. Okay, so leaving the house right now to go for a test drive because we got a nice warm day. About 70 degrees or so. Warm for what we've had lately. The clutch fan, my fault. I went to go test it because I got it used, so I didn't have much confidence in it, because I was noticing that it would kind of get a little bit warmer than 180 whenever sitting still. And then it got up to about 190 sitting in the driveway. Then I walked inside to grab something to shove in the radiator, or not the radiator, shove in the fan so I could test the clutch. And whenever I did that, I grabbed a pack of paper. I mean, something that wouldn't really bother it. And it slightly tweaked one of the blades and it stopped the fan. So I got to get I got to straighten one of the blades out, but because I had already seen the performance of that fan today, I threw on my flex fan, the Ford factory flex fan, the big one. I threw it on real quick, and we're just going to drive it down the road just like I did on my way home, and we'll test it and see how it does. So far, I'm already running cooler at, just driving temperature, or driving. So we're gonna go up here and come to a stop at the red light and see how that does. That was through one red light. We maintained temperature. So we caught this light green. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go up here and pull over in a parking lot and just let it idle in the parking lot for a minute and see what happens. Do a little bit of heavy acceleration, get a little heat in the motor. Now let's just go park in the sun. Kind of a torture test for the old big block. Like I said, I'm going to sit here for a minute. I'm going to let it idle. I'm not going to force y'all to sit here and watch me letting it idle. So I'll get back to y'all in just a second. So after about 10 minutes of idling, like I said, it's like a 70-degree day. Sitting still in the parking lot. We got up to about 200, which still isn't terrible for the car. So what I'm thinking is I'm going to go pick up this other 7-blade fan tomorrow think if we also put a high flow water pump and a 195 thermostat, I think we might be able to keep this big block cool during the summer. Honestly, I don't think we're far off from hitting the goal. Because look, I literally just barely pulled out onto the road and it's already down to 190 and dropping fast. So I don't think it'll be much work to keep it cool. Anyway, we got a lot more coming. I don't know how much more I'll show y'all in the cooling system of this car. Just playing with it, trying to get the best thing we can get out of it. But appreciate y'all watching. See y'all next week.